all. This is ArtsyWisdom. My name is Diane. I just wanted to jump on quickly and share with you some images and some information I got from our past president, Jimmy Carter. I know he was in hospice for the last couple of years of his life, and I believe he was probably tiptoeing onto the other side, coming back, going, and I think when he finally transitioned, obviously, and also. So Jimmy Carter, and then, believe it or not, Kris Kristofferson came to me. He gave me a bunch of really fascinating images that, it's analogy, and I'll share those with you. And they were kind of calming, actually, and it was more about our life and times right now. And, if there was arson with the fire or fires in California, and I looked into that to see what that holds for them. Sad. Apocalyptical landscape. Please send your prayers to the leaders, to all the first responders, the firemen, firewomen, fire personnel, people, police, anybody that is helping in this situation, all the people that are living there, that they get out safe, all the animals. I always worry about the animals. And that they get out safe and somebody finds them and cares for them. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Okay. So, I wrote notes because I was in a meditative state when I did this. And, I asked Mr. President Carter, about how he feels about everything that's going, with the, Donnie's inauguration. And now that we've reelected him, well, not me, but half the country did. And I'm going to just read you what he said. So he says he knows that Trump is dumb and dangerous, and he knows the people who voted for him. He understands them. He was more of a populist president, as post-Nixon, so everybody got to their, they felt like they could trust him. So he said he knew them. He understands the mindset of these people, that they're sad and tired and frustrated. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn this down because it's making me crazy. Yeah, and he knew those people in his years because there was a big inflation during that time, and he can understand their frustration. He said he left this earth knowing things are up in the air, but the American people will rise up and do the right things. He has a lot of faith in the American people. And he says we must pray for our leaders every day. And I saw this image of the people in the government, Congress, senators, not one anybody in particular, but I saw these like water pipes, but they were kind of in a row or next to each other. And the powers that be, leaders, congressmen, senators, all these tech billionaires that are involved, they were bending the pipes, all these galvanized pipes, just metal, silver pipes, and they were bending them, but the room or the building that they were around wasn't affected. It was more like they were working on things that mattered. Maybe it's the flow of money, maybe that's it, or the flow of how things are working. But the actual brick building is there, which I interpreted as our democracy or the Constitution, our institutions. I feel like that's staying. Let me just back up a second. The pipes reminded me of more of the institutions, the typical norms. And they were all getting bent. They weren't coming off the wall. They were just getting bent in all kinds of funky ways. And so, but the image of that building wasn't moving. It's like they were trying really hard, but they couldn't do anything to that. So that was I got a lot of hope with that. And, yeah, so he says, but they're outside the bulk of the Constitution. He did say because the Panama Canal Treaty was done when he was in office, and he said that it may need to be updated, but it was signed and it's already been, we're committed to it. So he says there may be something they could tweak about it, but it needs to stay. And when smaller countries don't have the resources we do, obviously. If we want to do something in the United States, we have a lot of money and power, we can do it. So that's the fear, is that I think, for me anyway, that the powers that be right now, or soon to be, will take advantage of the smaller country and just take over. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. I hope I'm right, but I don't think so. He said, Mr. Carter, President Carter said he can't do much. He said he was referring to these congressmen or Donnie and all of them in power. And he says, sad men, he's referring to all of them, sad men who live in foolishness of pride and greed. He says if they were God-fearing, they would do the right thing. So he's saying they've turned away from the true meaning of the love of God. And they're focused on what they want. And he says pray and speak up, though. He says don't be afraid to speak up, because it's all about what we're doing here in this democracy. So that was Mr. Carter. Just very peaceful sounding man, very peaceful. And I got the feeling that he was ready. He understood where we are at right now. It was similar to his time in a way, because everything was so expensive, gas and inflation was crazy high and stuff like that. So he understands that. So, but he did say things will be okay ultimately, because we as a society will rise up and do the right thing. All right, Kris Kristofferson. When I got in, he starts talking to me, and when he was in that movie, I didn't really, with him and Barbra Streisand, The Star is Born in the 70s, I didn't really care for his look. He looked kind of shaggy, but that's what guys. But over time, he's grown on me, I guess I've matured. But man, I wanted her hair so bad. Perm didn't mind when it was so bad. It was like out to here. So he's laughing. I could hear his laughing, like a down, like in his chest laugh when he's coming to me. And he says, I said, what do you have to say? What you hear? He says, take life easy. And he said, that's where the joy and fun is. He's like, take things easier. I think it was in general sense, but I think he was talking to me too. And just relax and live life and enjoy it. He said, fires are about the big picture. And he says, I have friends there and they are scared. And then I see him on a horse, pulling his reins, stopping, and then flipping the horse around. And I have no idea. I know he's from somewhere like Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere. But I see him pulling his reins and then flipping the horse around and going the other way. So part of that I interpret it as he's keeping busy, and he's, I want to say, scared of what's happening. I don't feel like it was scared. It was more like, okay, I'm free now. I'm going to do what I want to do, have fun, live life, and I feel free on this horse. But then what I started to see is dust and dirt everywhere. Like, okay, so if you can imagine you're in a corral, because that's where I was in a corral, and there was dust and sand just flying everywhere. And then I realized that I can't really see, and I don't think it was him, but maybe it was. They had a wild horse in there, and he's running around, and they are trying to break this horse's, I don't want to say spirit, but they want to get this horse trained, but it was not taking it. It was like fighting. So this crazy dust, and you couldn't even hardly see through it, was in the corral. And I'm just making sure I remember everything. Horses getting tamed, fighting and running. It was just running around in circles. But even... Oh, I see. I'm sorry. But eventually it gets to the point where this cowboy, it wasn't Kris Kristofferson, or maybe it was, this cowboy jumps on the horse, and it's like totally calm. And they're both smiling, or the horse wasn't smiling, but he was happy. The cowboy was happy, and the horse was happy. They were one. They became one with understanding each other. And what I interpreted that as is these times, the chaos, the taming of this wild administration, if you could call it that, this wild group of people that are trying to do all these things. And the other thing I felt was this horse he wanted to be in charge. He really wanted to be in charge. He wanted to just do what he does, but he couldn't because he was in this corral, which I interpreted as democracy or the Constitution, and that isn't going anywhere. Big metal things, and the horse was getting tamed, whether he liked it or not. And this cowboy gets on, and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. The cowboy's thrilled. The horse actually feels good, like I said. So I interpreted that as it's going to take time, and it's so messy, and it's so dirty, and it's so you can't see through all the dirt and all the haze of the stuff being kicked around. So I think this may also be interpreted as what we don't see behind the scenes, because the dirt is going everywhere. But what we don't see is something is getting tamed in the background. The feeling I had is not that it's right away. I feel like there's a lot of things happening, but once that cowboy gets on that horse, he's going to get tamed. Now, I don't feel like it's the American people getting tamed and this cowboy is the new administration. I feel like it's them as the horse, just being crazy wild. And they just want to get in there and tear it apart and just run and do whatever they want. But it's kind of like a low-end mentality. I mean, horses are beautiful, but that's the feeling I got, was like it's an immaturity, a childlike thing going, I just want to do it all. I can do it. And that's why all the dirt and the crazy. Yeah. And then Kris Kristofferson says Trump is an idiot. He said he took him at his word the first time. He liked him, I think, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like he did. And then COVID happened, and he said he didn't listen to scientists, and that bothered him. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong, if any of that is correct or not. I don't feel like he was now. Well, he's passed on now, but okay. So it felt really good. Things are going to settle down. The dust is going to settle. There you go. And things will get calmer. And actually, it felt really good once it did. So maybe that means there'll be a bipartisan way about some of this stuff, or they won't try so hard. Some of these cabinet positions won't get confirmed. Maybe that's it. And then they'll start and have to do regular, normal people with actual experience and knowledge. Oh, yeah. And he says, okay, so as for the fires, there's a symbolism happening with this. I told you guys the other day with this Pluto in Aquarius and Pluto changing signs and all these other things changing signs. Uranus is coming up to it here in a few months. Jupiter's changing signs. Mars is going back and forth. And Neptune's changing signs. So big shifts all the way around. But the big thing is Pluto, because it's unearthing. It's removing. The other day I talked about it being a forest fire. I literally said that. And everything being burnt down, and they're starting from scratch. I didn't see that, but maybe I had it somewhere in my subconscious. That's what was happening somewhere. But this is symbolic of that. All the hurricanes that flooded those cities on the southeast part of the country in the Carolinas, and they flooded and just wiped out entire communities. Same idea. This is a period of time due to the energies, universe, not just who's in the U.S., it's just all over the world. It's about the big shift. It's about cleansing. It's about starting over, but you have to destroy what's there. In the past, we always just kept what was good, but a lot of things aren't working. And I'm not talking about fire. I'm talking about just government and life and stuff. So it's pretty drastic. It's pretty shocking. So that's what you need to prepare to expect. Some earthquakes, some volcanic activity, and I think I mentioned, I still see it in the North Atlantic, some sort of continental shift way up there by the Labrador, between Canada and Ireland, up there somewhere in the ocean, deep in the ocean. And I think that'll affect some other areas and make volcanic activity happen in Iceland and Russia and stuff. I mean, it's already happening. We're just going through a big shift. The earth is an organic thing, and we're made of the same material. So we're going through this giant shift, and things are being leveled. So prepare and think of it as, okay, who am I in this life? What do I want to achieve? Who knows? It's a reminder life is short, and we get complacent. So this is the kind of stuff that happens, that when my breast cancer had that, it made me realize I can't live the way I was living. And a few years later, I got a divorce, or I left. So it's these come to Jesus moments. That's what we're seeing right now in so many ways. And because this is another thought I had, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm not anti-rich. I am not. People deserve to have their own money. I don't care. But a lot of the people in those Palisades and up there in Calabasas and Brentwood, and it's not in Beverly Hills, but some of those areas, some of them have really high-end homes on the ocean and that sort of thing. Some of that's a kind of symbolic of the hierarchy too, getting kind of erased. It's really strange how that works. And down to, but I'm not saying all those homes, a lot of those homes, I would say most of those homes were regular people, middle class people, and even lower. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I don't care if somebody loses their house, it's horrible, whoever it is. I'm just using the analogy of the symbolism of that. The symbolism, the new order, destruction of the old, and wealthy, similar floods. So I saw more earthquakes. So chaotic times are ahead. Doesn't mean you have to live in fear. It's more like, okay, prepare. Once you prepare and you get it in your head that something may happen, I'm going to make a plan. I need to have stuff here, not just like literally in your house, but just in general, psychically, psychologically. Say things aren't going to stay the status quo. I want them to, but they're not. So maybe I have to have some idea what I would do if I wanted to have a life that may not be what it is right now, or what my happiest I could be, or something like that. So listen to your heart, and there's some ideas. You could make big changes, or you could just know that you're flexible and adaptable, and whatever happens, happens, and you can figure it out because you're resourceful. But still have stuff in the house, still have all that, what you need, and the basics. Oh yeah. I also wrote, when I was asking my angels, we are meant to survive. Since the beginning of time, humans have meant to survive. So it's not like we're going to get wiped out or anything. We're meant to survive. We will. And because it's programmed in. So we will shift and move to change our lives to fit the new reality. And if you look at it that way, we're blessed with that capacity to do that. Okay. All right. I think that's it. You guys take care. Until next time. I forgot to mention, I mentioned I was going to look into the arson. I do feel it's some people are subconsciously, and this goes for those guys who committed those terrorist actions on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. People are tuned into that subconscious energy, or they're subconsciously tuned into the energy of this cleansing. And so I do think there's a couple. I think 2 of those fires were set by arsonists in Southern California. Actually, no, 3. I feel like 3. And the one was set in multiple locations. Like, he didn't just start a fire. It was more like throw some gasoline here, throw some gasoline there, and they met and it got bigger. And then the winds. And then the winds. So it may not have been what they imagined it initially because of the winds were so incredibly powerful and fast and they couldn't fight it. So I do think, yeah. And I do think they'll catch somebody that did that. I know I saw one person was caught, but I feel like they're going to find two more. I think two. Or two spots that the same person did. Maybe it's like that. One of those things. And when it comes to Gavin Newsom and his future there, I don't think he can live through this or politically survive this. I don't think so. Yeah, California's having a lot of rough times, and yeah, I don't think he may, but my sense is right now, today, no. Okay, that was it. I just wanted to, I think what happened with those fires is, well, there's a lot of fuel around, and somehow, a vehicle, I feel like there might have been a vehicle on the grass that drove over grass or had a spark, like a quad out in the country or out off-roading, and the spark did it. I think that's what happened to at least one of them. Yeah. They'll get a handle on this, but it's life changing. It is. It's for a lot of us, but for the people that live there, it's so life changing.